beginning. That's the old school, right? Alec Baldwin, love that statement, right? Always be closing. You think the leads are weak, you're weak, right? Then we're going to talk about the new ABCs of sales. New ABC of sales, I heard this many moons ago when I was riding around in the car listening to like a Darren Hardy thing, right? And it really stuck with me, and I've been teaching it ever since I heard it way back when. And the key of the new ABCs are A, B, C, right? A, instead of always, stands for atonement. It's the attitude of we. It's how we communicate. We start out dependent, right? We start out dependent. We want to get picked up. We want things we have to depend on people to get what we need, right? Then we become independent, which means on ourselves. Then eventually we get married, have kids, and we become what we call interdependent. It means I depend on my system and my people to help me get what I want and need, right? So attunement, might be saying that wrong, is basically, it is the attitude of we. It's we, right? It's basically unity. It's a unity word in biblical terms, is unity. So again, it's creating unity with your network, right? Seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's things I've got to make sure that we're putting into play, because again, I got to make sure that attunement side, the ABC, it's a big deal. B, okay? B stands for buoyancy. And you're in sales, you live in a sea of rejection. Even if you think you're killing in your office is closing at 30%, and even if you're closing at 40, you're still losing 6 out of 10, right? In the major leagues, you bat 3 for 10. That's 300. You're gonna make basically the Hall of Fame. So I'm going 3 for 10. Even though I failed 7 times, I succeeded 3. That's it. But it's what happens with those 7 times that keeps me afloat, right? So do you have a buoyancy plan? Things to start, stop, and continue doing to be successful, right? Because if I don't know what to start, stop, and continue to get back on track, it's a big deal. That's why when you're killing it on top of the world, we create what we call a buoyancy plan. Buoyancy plan, again, is things we start, stop, and doing. We got to stay buoyant in that sea of rejection. Reason why? If we basically come out of the gate, let's say we start as a new representative. We come out of the gate flying. We're like this. We're flying. We're like right on track, right? And they're killing it. Basically, 35%, 40%, 45% first 3 months, and suddenly we start going on a downward spiral. And that downward spiral, we got to catch ourselves, right? Because we go too low, we can get ourselves in trouble. And we keep falling down, right? Well, what happens? Generally, we cut corners, we skip a step, we start going back to our old knowledge base, which gets us back in trouble, and we start falling back into old habits, and then it keeps us down that track, right? You got to find somebody called a buoyancy partner, somebody that's going to tell you the truth and help you get back on track that you role play with. If you don't have one of those, you need to have a buoyancy plan. What a buoyancy plan, start, stop, and continue, is the letter you write to yourself. Let's say it's your 45% closing self, writing to your 20% closing self. So if I'm writing my 45% close is writing to my 20% close, it's like you're writing it at your top thing. So you want to model that behavior. That's what your buoyancy plan is about, is modeling behavior. How do I write the letter of excellence of how I'm doing it? Because I know I'm not going to listen to most people, because arrogance is a weakness. Confidence is a strength, but we're still humans. And if our skill set, we feel like we're better than anyone else that sells, it's tough to listen. It's easy to listen to ourselves in a note that we wrote ourselves. So write yourself a buoyancy plan so you can stay buoyant in a sea of rejection. The last thing is clarity. Let's talk about clarity real quick, right? Clarity is being clear and precise. There's a great book. I'm going to just reference it real quick. And the book talks about the amount of tips this waiter gets. And so what they did a survey. They had basically this it's like a restaurant. And in this restaurant, they talked about 2 different waiter styles. The styles, they wanted to see how they gauged which worked the most effective. One was knowledge and praise, and then it was active listening. So you got to figure out with the clarity, sometimes we rush a lot, right? We get into the mix. We make things roll. We put ourselves in a situation where we can't succeed, right? Think about it. This is what happened at that restaurant. So we went out and they're eating dinner, and waiter comes up and they're like, hey, you guys having a good time so far? Welcome in. Just want to welcome you guys. Well, thanks so much for coming in. Hey, wanted to know what we could do for you guys tonight. Okay, great. We want the filet mignon. We want basically asparagus. We want some mashed potatoes, garlic mashed potatoes, and we want a rum and coke. Wow, okay, that sounds like a great thing. My God, you're going to love it. You picked everything out perfectly. Do you want the steak medium well? I think we want medium. Great. Perfect. I'm going to go back. Enjoy. Is there anything else we can get you before we come out? No, I'll be back with your drink in a second, right? Come back. Everything's perfect. Perfect place. come back in, they eat their dinner, they love it, give the tip, off and go, right? So they played that for a week. And the other set of waiter, waitresses during that week, wait staff, they talked about this. They said, all right, so next thing we're going to do is we call active listening. So we're going to make sure we figure this out. And then at the end of this, we're going to gauge the tips. So check it out. They said, hey, how can we help you tonight? Great. Hey, just want to make sure that you guys have a magical experience today. Thanks so much for coming in. It's in the beginning stuff. Great. What can we get for you? Yeah, I want a filet mignon. I want a medium. I want a Jack and Coke. I want the garlic mashed potatoes, and I want asparagus. Wow, that is a fantastic choice. Just so that way I'm going to go back, just make sure I got everything correct. So it sounds like to me you want a filet mignon. You want that medium. You want the mashed potatoes. You want the garlic mashed potatoes, and you want the asparagus, right? Great. Is there anything else I can get for you? That was your order? Yep, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go back, get it, bring it back. How was it? Oh my God, it was magical, right? So I went through both of those programs. And what they said at the end of it, they gauged the tips. The tip difference, it blew my mind when I first heard this, right? The tip difference was 70% different. And the 70% came back on not the acknowledgement and praise, it was basically the active listening. And the reason why, when you listen, acknowledge, confirm, and respond, letting them know that you heard it, check this out. The people that were eating at the diner, or at the dinner at the restaurant, said this. They said the reason why they went back and surveyed, why did you tip so much? I felt like my brain was relaxed, where I could focus on the person I was with, and I wasn't worried about my order being wrong. Why were you worried about your order being wrong? Because it's happened before, and it ruined my whole experience. Wow. So it made that big of a difference in reading it back? Yes, because now I can concentrate on the person I'm with. Think about that. Clarity. Do you ever know, you ever answered something where somebody says, well, that's not really what I was asking? I think we all have, right? So again, remember, listen, acknowledge, confirm, respond, active listening. Make sure we're making it easy. New ABCs. Atonement, again, unity, we, interdependent. 2, basically is B, buoyancy. Stay buoyant in a sea of rejection. Am I writing a letter to my 25% self or 20% self from my 45% self, right? So I'm talking to myself. Things I start, stop, and continue. Staying buoyant in a sea of rejection. What do you put in between your ears? Do you have your accountability partner? And then clarity, which is by being clear and precise with my words. Do I really understand what my customer's saying? Or am I quick to judge to put something into place? A little test for relief, right? 76 times. Ready? All right. White, 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 white. What do cows drink? Nope, not milk. It's water. All right. See you on the board. Catch you next lesson. Let's go. Bye.
Yeah, but